everybody, I'm Tommy, and you're on the boat. So, I told you yesterday that we were going to get around to this one. There's been an awful lot of people that are talking about Dr. Michael McKee. He's a, vascular surgeon. This is a guy who is accused of killing Spencer and Monique Tepe. That would be the dentist and his wife that were murdered right around the 30th, I believe, of December in Ohio. He ran, according to the prosecution, to Rockford, Illinois, where he was holed up. They found him near his house by Chick-fil-A. I know that. They found him near a Chick-fil-A, which you might have eaten at one time or another. Johnny, good to see you. Monk. Laura Lou, how are you? So, everybody is talking about this guy getting transported from where he was at over back to Ohio. There are 2 jails in Ohio in the area that he's at. Hey, Kathy, one of them is very old. One of them is very new. And a lot is being made about the fact that he's in the new one and the benefits to him as a inmate, because there's a lot more amenities. They're using that word. There's a lot more amenities at that place. There are no amenities in jail. I don't care whether you're at a new one or you're at an old one. And the truth of the matter, what's that? Isn't that crazy? It's the workout room. They do the hot yoga and the rock massage. Anyway, truth be told, I prefer old prisons to new facilities for a whole lot of reasons. Number one is the new ones are built in such a way that you're not going to get away with as much. There's cameras everywhere, and the old ones, believe it or not, they used to use a lot of mortar in the bricks, and it's a very different thing these days. But we used to be able to pass things between cells, all kinds of stuff like that. But regardless, here's what happens. When you get ready to get transported on something like this, they're going to send out usually the U.S. Marshals, not always 100%. Kathy is in Ohio right now. They don't always send out the U.S. Marshals. Sometimes they will hire a place. So there are people that will do this. He was leaving work and went to the Rockford Chick-fil-A. He lived in Chicago in the Lincoln Park area. Well, thank you. That is where the new apartment was in Lincoln Park, and apparently had a beautiful view of the water. So they wake you up in the middle of the night, and I mean literally. If you're leaving at like 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever the case may be, they wake you up at about 2:30 a.m. because they're never going to have an inmate slow them up, and they don't really care whether you're comfortable or anything along those lines. So they wake you up in the middle of the night. They give you a bag-lunched breakfast, and then you sit in a room waiting for them to shackle you up. One of the things they don't want to happen is for you to make a phone call to Vin Diesel and his boys so that they can spring you from the back of whatever they're transporting you in. So your phone would have been turned off the night before, right around the time you were going to bed. If you try to go make a phone call in any kind of a lockup facility, jail, prison, whatever, you have to enter, in the feds, they call it a PAC number. Sometimes they call it a personal ID number, but it is what lets them know who's making the phone call. They turn that number off, make it impossible for you to make a phone call. They bring out, in cases like this, he's not going to get on a bus. It's not going to be what you think. He is in big trouble, Susan. Make no mistake, he is in big trouble. So they're going to bring him in an automobile. It may be an SUV. It may be a Crown Victoria, but they're going to bring him in a nondescript car that has a cage in it so that there's no way he can get to the people in the front seat and he can't get out. The door's locked from the inside. And they're going to shackle him, which means he's going to have handcuffs, right, that go onto his ankles. They're obviously made larger, and it's to hobble you. You can't run with these on. There's a chain going from one angle to the other. Usually that chain's maybe 18 to 24 inches. You just can't, you have to shuffle. And worse than the chain is it's impossible to put a anklet, right, a shackle on your ankles that doesn't park itself on your ankle bones. One of the most uncomfortable things in the entire world is trying to walk with those on. So after that, they're going to put a belly chain around him, which is literally just a chain that's going to go around the waist. And they're going to put a padlock on that so that it is tight to you. There's not a lot of room for it to move. Then through that, there's a little device about this long, right? It's just in the shape of a U almost, right? But it's closed off on the end. And your handcuffs, the chain is going to go up through the handcuff, and then they're going to put the lock on that. So you can't lift your hands away from your waist. It is super restrictive. If they were to open the door and go, okay, go ahead and make a run for it, you ain't getting far. I promise you. Now, he had a 4-hour trip back to Ohio. And apparently he made this trip often because they are alleging that he would go up there and sort of stalk her and things of that nature. After the murders, if he did it, he did it. But after the murders, he would have had to drive that trip back after committing a crime. And I wasn't out killing people, but I may have robbed a bank or two. And the ride home after doing something like that, the amount of adrenaline that's coursing through your body, honestly, you kind of go into almost into like a trance kind of a mode. I don't know if you've ever had a lot on your mind and you get home and you go, man, I don't even remember driving home. I don't remember if I hit any red lights. I don't remember if there was anybody in traffic because your head's somewhere else and your body's just on autopilot. And we spend so much time driving in places like America that it's like tying your shoes. You don't have to think about it when you do it. And very often your head can be in two different places, sort of compartmentalized. But making that trip back, he didn't have to worry about driving. All he had to do was look out the window, and he was probably running through his head. And I've been transported. This is something that I do know a little something about. But you're going to spend all kinds of time thinking about every mistake you made. Now, he's already seen the indictment against him. And this is a very unusual indictment. If we haven't talked about this yet, do me a favor, smack that like button, hit subscribe, hit that bell for notification. I really appreciate it. It does help out.
Do it.
Kathy says, I can't imagine. And the paranoia, too, besides spinning in his head. The paranoia will be very, very real because now that his charges are out, and these are unusual. I'm not sure we've talked about this yet, but he's charged with 4 counts of murder. And if you're thinking to yourself, he only killed 2 people, nevertheless, they are still, they're still going to charge him with 4 counts of murder. And the reason for that is they don't know exactly what the best route is going to be, right? So all of these have special circumstances. These are murders that the first 2 that he's charged with are murders that were, these murders were carried out while in the commission of another felony. That makes it a capital, offense. And 2 of them, right? So makes this something that could put him on the death penalty. The offense he would have already been doing would have been a home invasion. So the fact is they're not going to charge him with 4 murders, but it gives him an opportunity to figure out the prosecution an opportunity to figure out what the best course of action is going to be and then go that route. Did you feel that way every time you were transported? Not just the first. Not every time. Because a lot of the times that I was transported around by the federal government, I knew my goose was cooked. But when you're getting transported back to stand charges, yeah, it's absolute hell. And this is also the first time. What felony did he have before the murders? No, Taylor, he was in the process of committing a felony. In other words, if you're raping somebody and in the process of raping them, you kill them, you committed a homicide while in the commission of another felony. So he was doing a home invasion. He broke into a house that isn't his. That's home invasion. That's a felony. So now in the commission of a felony, he pulls out a firearm, kills these people. The second batch is going to be something that's a little bit more interesting as well because he had a silencer, right, which is what is commonly the nickname for these things. They're called suppressors. They're called bafflers. It just depends on who you hear talk about it. But he had something that's screwed to the end of the barrel of that 9mm that he had that would cut down dramatically on the sound coming out of that gun. It does not make them sound like it does in the movies. That is just Hollywood. They still make a sound, right? They cut down on it. Most reports, boom, coming out of the end of a gun, you're looking at somewhere around 140 decibels, right? That's rock concert loud. That's standing in the front row of a rock concert loud. But if you can knock that down to 20 or 30 decibels, it's still loud. There are some silencers that are way better than others. And very often, if the person decides to make it themselves, right, they keep talking about how these things are illegal to purchase. They're not illegal to purchase. They're not. There are states all over the United States that you can buy a silencer. However, you're going to have to hop through a hell of a lot of hoops in order to do that. And one of those hoops that you're going to have to hop through is you're going to have to deal with the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. They want to know everyone on earth that owns one of these.
Fun group
of people. They're absolutely a fun group of people. And now it's alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives. They added explosives.
Yeah,
they did.
They did really.
Yeah. Do they give you medication in prison to calm down? I imagine I would be a basket case, screaming, etc. Do you get to see a doctor? You do get to see a doctor. They don't give you medication to calm you down, but you do get to see a doctor. The reason that they usually will not give you medication to calm you down is because everybody in there would like medication to calm you down. And that stuff is very highly sought after, traded, sold, favors done for it, all of that stuff. It doesn't make that ping sound like the movies. No, it does not. That Nope, nothing like that. In fact, he was shooting an automatic. And that doesn't mean that it's like a machine gun. You hear that a lot. It's a semi-automatic. The difference is this. Revolvers and automatics work on two very different concepts. When somebody shoots an automatic, right, it used to be referred to as a gas action automatic. They no longer say that. But when you fire off, the gas that is coming out of the shell, right, so the firing pin comes down and hits the primer. It's fulminate mercury. That ignites all of the gunpowder that is inside the casing. Causes an explosion, and there's nowhere for that explosion to go. So what it does is it forces the bullet down the barrel, and there is rifling in that barrel. So the bullet begins to spin like this. The rest of that gas still has to go somewhere. And what it does is it blows back the slide, the piece on the top, blows back. In the process of doing that, an extractor throws out the empty shell, and as it comes back forward, it pulls the next bullet out of the magazine or the clip, right? That's kind of important because that slide on the top can weigh 1/4 pound depending on the size of the gun. If it's a really unbelievable gun, if it's like one of those those 50 calibers, the huge ones or whatever, it could weigh almost 1 pound, right, of that steel on the top. And when that thing goes sliding back and forth, it makes an unbelievably loud sound, even if everything else was silenced, and it won't be. But just that shack action is so loud. If you've ever heard somebody drop, like when the final bullet goes off, it goes back and it doesn't come forward. So they drop the clip out. You see it in the movies. The clip's back. They put the next one in, and then they pull a lever, and it slides forward to bring the next shell into the chamber. Just that noise alone is loud as hell. So he was shooting an automatic. We know this because not only have they recovered it, but there was also shells left at the scene. If it's a revolver, the shell doesn't eject. When the gun goes off, there's literally just a lever, right, that as you finish with the trigger, it spins the cylinder so that the next shell is ready to be hit by the primer. Probably a better call if you're using a gun with a silencer on it would be to use a revolver. You don't leave a shell behind for evidence. However, if they are right and he's using a silencer, and there's no reason whatsoever to doubt that he had one because apparently it was with the gun, which makes him a real pro, Johnny Scoville. Don't get rid of the gun. Don't get rid of the silencer. That's hubris. That's a guy that was so damn sure that, you're welcome. This is a guy that is so damn sure he's going to get away with it that he doesn't even bother getting rid of the murder weapon or the silencer. And I'll tell you something. The court system doesn't like silencers, right? This is a huge issue. And I'll tell you, I'm curious as to why this doesn't go federal. Now, maybe, how cops hate him. I'm on 3 years Xanax free. Hey, that is awesome, man. Congratulations. Can we get a 4 in the for a little congratulatory quattro? Because that, to me, is really good stuff, man. Xanax are not an easy thing to get on. That would be alprazolam, a benzodiazepine. If by some chance you're quitting benzos, talk to a doctor before you do it.
These are my meetings. How cool is
that is pretty cool. Somewhere in Canada, good to have you here. These are the kind of drugs that can kill you if you go cold turkey. You can have seizures. So hopefully you did it over a sustained period of time. But congratulations. That's awesome. Not an easy drug to get off. I will tip my hat. Oh, it's good coffee.
It's a great cup.
It really is. It's good coffee. So now this guy is looking at what, in my opinion, and maybe I'm just not that bright, but he crossed state lines to do this, right? He was using a silencer, which the feds are real serious about. I think that this is the kind of crime that they could pick up. The FBI could grab a hold of this.
It hasn't gone federal already.
Maybe I don't understand it enough, right? He's just going to be charged.
Just waiting?
I don't know. I mean, it seems odd to me that if you cross state lines to kill someone, usually that becomes a federal offense.
There's so many things.
Yeah, this does seem odd. You went cold turkey, had a stroke. I'm good now. See, you know what? I'm glad that you said that, though, because I'm not lying when I say that this can kill you, quitting cold turkey. That and alcohol. Here's the deal. If you're going to quit anything, talk to a doctor before you do it. I don't care if it's weed. Not going to hurt you to quit, weed cold turkey, but you're just better off to talk to anybody before you do, because there's a lot of new medications and things out there that make quitting any substance a whole lot easier. Yeah, he's a total idiota. He was always going to be the lead suspect, and he didn't even seem to realize that. Also, this guy's life was spiraling out of control, right? The first time I talked about this guy, I said, he doesn't have a criminal record, except some cases for malpractice. But what's fascinating is he made it impossible for them to find him. which is not an easy thing to do in 2025. But he falsified his phone number. He
You gotta move to a different country with that.
well, yeah. He and then maybe don't make content. He falsified his phone number. He gave him a fake address, and a lot of people who are speculating on this say that the activating event was when the courts accidentally mailed him a document saying that the divorce was still going on. He hadn't thought about old Monique in years. He got that thing in the mail. Then he started looking her up. He didn't get that in the mail. If professional skip tracers and process servers could not find him, the court sure as shit didn't mail that to an address that found him. Sorry, that doesn't make any sense. An address from 8 years ago. There wouldn't have been a forwarding address because if there was, the process servers, the people that serve you with papers for the courts, would have found him. But he was running from these malpractice suits, which is fascinating to me because there isn't a surgeon on planet Earth that doesn't have malpractice insurance. It makes you wonder if his life was just spiraling out of control and he lost his give a shit.
Well, no, but here somebody has a doctor. We assume they all have their accident. There's some doctors that are idiots.
Well, he's an idiot, make no mistake, but they wouldn't have let him work at any facility if he didn't have malpractice insurance. So why not just, go and face the music and do what you got to do, let him pay it off. With the silencer, would the first shot still wake up the victim that was shot last? Oh yeah, I mean it's loud enough to wake you up. You're not going to sleep through that going off. I mean unless you're really a deep sleeper, or you take a lot of sleeping pills, or you're drunk or something. It's a loud noise. It's just not a gunshot. But it definitely is not like the movies where you go, I'm sorry, did you hear somebody cough?
It's a bad sound.
It's a bad sound. And on top of that, this was a gas action automatic, Johnny Scoble. So just the chack of the slide going back and forth, ejecting the shell alone is a really loud noise. But by all accounts, he shot the guy in the chest twice, shot the woman in the chest once. That whole process, if you're decent with a handgun, could be over before you might wake up and go, what the hell was, and you wouldn't get that sentence out. I mean, if he went in there and caught them in bed, and we don't know, right? But if he went in there and just went boom, 2 tap, and then 1, that process could be over in a second. It's not like thinking about the Nick Reiner murder scene where that's considerably more personal. And his mother would have absolutely had a real good idea of what was going on with dad. You could still be in the shock of doing the what the hell was that before you even can finish that thought. Chances are it hit her in the chest. Let's see something here real quick, folks. Tommy, I cannot get Suboxone in Livingston, Texas. Been out since December 31st. The ER helped me twice with 3-day supply. Do you know any way that I could get a free bus ticket back to Pennsylvania? Is that because Texas does not allow Suboxone, or is it? That seems odd to me. Is it an issue with the pharmacies, or is it an issue with like Quick MD, right? Or is it Quick MD? Yeah, it's Quick MD. There's a lot of companies online that will write prescriptions for Suboxone without you having to go in and see a doctor. But I don't know if Texas is one of the states that allows telehealth for Suboxone. If that is an issue, I wouldn't go all the way back to Pennsylvania. I would cross the border into Oklahoma. I would cross the border into one of the other states and try to just talk to the people at Quick MD and do it at a place like that. But that's tough. That really, really is tough. If it was me and I had no other option, I would try to get, I would maybe go to a methadone clinic. Now, I'm not suggesting that you get on methadone, but in places where you can't get on Suboxone because of local state laws, which, by the way, are just stupid. But in places like that, methadone clinics will not just give methadone. They will also give Suboxone. And it would be a pain in the ass. You'd have to go there every morning, but at least you wouldn't find yourself having to cold turkey off of Suboxone. And depending how much you're taking a day, if you're up around 16 milligrams a day, cold turkeying it off of it could be a very unpleasant process. But Texas is like taboo on, that's just terrible. Okay, I would look into Oklahoma. I would look to every single one of the border states as opposed to having to go all the way back to Pennsylvania. And on the other side of that too, you could go to a methadone clinic where they would give it to you daily. Allegedly, the patient he did surgery on near murder times past. Not exactly sure what that means, Grandma. Grandma Chris, I don't fully put that away. I know. Look at this. There were a couple of different malpractice cases. One of which was where a catheter was left in a leg. This is the kind of surgery he does, like varicose veins. They knock that out all of the time. Sassy Savage, good to see you. Rocks and Rocks, hang in there, right? Look into local methadone clinics. They can get you. You can go in there and start taking stuff daily. It's nice that the hospital hooked you up, but you're going to have to find a better solution, especially if you're living in Texas. That's going to be an issue. It doesn't mean you can't get it in Texas. It means you can't get it telehealth in Texas. I know people that are on Suboxone there, but you would have to go find a doctor, see them in person. You definitely can be on it in Texas. I worked with a lot of people that are. It's not going to be as easy as doing Web Quick MD or one of those, but it is possible. But I would look into methadone clinics because methadone clinics do hand out Suboxone. Please explain how anyone can kill two people without a thought. Does drugs deaden your brain that you can kill the mother of your children? Scary. Well, this wasn't the mother of his kids, right? These kids came from the second marriage, but nevertheless, I believe that there are people whose wiring allows this to happen. I don't think this is a drug issue with this. This is one of those things. Yeah, I still don't understand that one. This is one of those situations that there are people that have bad wiring. There are people that feel that this death is justified, right? Killing this woman is justice. What she did to him, and you start to build this up in your head. And these are delusions. This is bad wiring, right? So allegedly, and we don't know this, but this is a theory that people seem to be running with. There is, you can see video of her online. She doesn't have a huge social media presence, but the wedding is online. And there are people who say that he was probably binge watching the wedding and going and listening to the vows that she wrote specifically, which talk about being burned by dirtbags, right? By being with somebody that was scary and caused waterfalls of tears. And she's choking up while it's happening. Now, she married a doctor. And if you are a vascular surgeon, I guarantee you he's going, doctor. Dude's a dentist, right? I'm sure that he's really pissed off seeing her happy. Now, normal people, this happens to all of us, right? Nobody likes thinking of their, recently divorced ex being madly in love with somebody else and sharing, the wedding bed and all of that stuff. You're sitting there going, man, that's the bummer. But what do? We stomp our feet and we complain to our friends and say, boy, she looks ugly now, doesn't she? She was so much better looking when I saw her. Like that kind of petty shit. But there are people out there that have a certain mindset. And this guy has been, by all accounts, he's been very driven and very successful his entire life. He also, by all accounts, has not been particularly great with women. For some people, drugs can be a motivator. I think in the Nick Reiner case, I think that speed is going to be something we hear plays a part in this guy's life. And when you stay up for days on end, those kind of drugs can help you to make really bad decisions. I think in the case of the bad doctor here, that he's just a sick SOB and he was not ready to take a loss, so to speak. He just simply put was not going to take a loss on this. So in his head, this was justifiable homicide. This woman deserved to die. And that doctor, the dentist, this is a guy that he's looking at going, this guy stole what I should have had, right? From the stories we hear, her family got her out of that relationship when he was gone. Like he was at work and they came and went, come on, let's go. Pack it up. Let's go. This was a frightening situation. Allegedly, according to brother-in-laws, friends of Monique, this guy threatened her life when they were together. This was a guy that said, I will kill you, right? I will kill you. That's usually if somebody says they're going to kill you, maybe take them seriously, And I think that very often we just want to get out of a situation, and instead of going and telling the police, look, no, this guy has threatened me with this, getting some kind of restraining orders. There doesn't seem to be any of that took place. I think doctor thought he was a big deal since childhood, in the paper since first grade. That's right. It was like a poster contest or something. He was embarrassed by her and had to get even. Pure evil. Yeah. And I'm not busting on doctors. I love doctors, right? But let's be really honest. This has been written about. There's been movies made. There's been books written. God complexes, right? If you spend this much time studying, and us normal folk, we go, oh man, I got this pain right here. I don't know what the hell's going on. The doctor goes, I do. Let me tell you exactly what's going on, right? Inside the, the vascular with the thing and the thing, right? And they start feeling like they've got this all figured out, and they sort of hold life in the palm of their hands, right? So for some people, they get a God complex. They also feel considerably smarter than all of the people around them. And if you start thinking to yourself, sorry, but if you start thinking to yourself, man, I wish that bitch was dead. I'd like to kill her and her new husband. if you believe you're smarter than everybody on earth, you might start to think to yourself, and I could make that happen. I guarantee you, I could get down there, I could kill them, I could get back. First thing I need a silencer, right? And everybody, is talking about how does he get the punch digits to get into that house? And I had said in the beginning, maybe it's a situation where they just continue to use the same codes over and over again. My ex-wife did that. That's how I was able to hack into her stuff, find out everything she was doing with stealing my identity. But there are other ways, and I didn't think about this until yesterday, but Johnny Scoville was looking at a boat that was in the ocean, and he took out his super modern iPhone. I don't know which one he's got, but it's the crazy one, right? And he went like this and started pulling in, and you could see the people on the deck. You really, it takes it and just brings stuff that's hundreds and hundreds of yards away right into your grill. If you were to park across the street,
I can see your guy.
Yeah, if you were to park across the street and just go like this and bring it in, you'd be looking at that keypad. It would not be difficult to go and stalk that out for maybe 3 or 4 days. And about the third or fourth time, you record it, right? You're not just looking at it. You're taking a recording of it. Then you can play it in slow motion. I don't think that's a real stretch to think that wouldn't be that difficult to come up with. But he's planning this, right? This is going in his head. He's planning this. He's got all of this thing worked out to the umpteenth degree. I'll tell you the part that no criminal plans for, right? The part he's doing right now. He's smarter than everybody in the world, right? And he's on his way to jail. He gets there. Now he has to walk in among the fellas. Now, here's the thing. This is a big case. Everybody knows what's going on. In the eyes of the inmates, he just killed 2 people. There are a lot of people who murder people in prison. This is not a rare crime. The fact that he shot a woman and a man, there are guys in there. And again, I will say this. I know it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. But if you sit and think to yourself, okay, I can see that, then the person's probably not in bad shape. In other words, what are you in here for? Well, this girl left me. She, burned me, did this and this. I was so pissed off. I killed her and her new husband. There are inmates in there that go, okay, I can see that. I'm not saying I would do it, but everybody's been pissed off enough to go, boy, I'd like to kill my ex. Doesn't mean you would ever do it, but they can say, I understand why that thought might get into somebody's head, right? If somebody goes in and says, well, I'm in here for having sex with a 12-year-old child. There's not a guy in that room that's going to go, I can see that. Everyone in the room is going to go, wait, what? Right? Those kind of crimes that you can't wrap your head around, the inmates consider wicked, disrespectful, and dishonorable, and they will try to kill you for that, right? I have been to Thailand, actually. Bless you. Mo, I have been to Thailand. Thailand is very, very inexpensive. There's a lot of things about that are fantastic, but there are some other stuff around that the way that kids get treated in that country, it's a hard thing to avoid seeing, and it would make you sick. But there are a lot of expats there. It is a popular place for people to go because of the cost of living is really low, and you don't have to go through and hop through the hoops to get citizenship like we're doing here. They allow what they call border hopping or border jumping, where after 90 days or 180 days, you can just step across the border, spend the night, and come back, start the clock all over again. So there are expats that buy property there and live there. But yeah, this one was a better fit for me. He can't have been impossible to find and still going to work. So he cannot have been working. Oh no, he was working. He made it impossible for them to find through normal channels, right? They made 6 different attempts to try to locate the guy, but he was still working. I think what happened is a lot of the old stuff he gave them was just simply fake, which is odd. This guy's got a lot of things that make you go, huh? But he's going to walk into a jail. And when he does, the fellas in there aren't going to want to kill him for his crimes. It's not like he's a child molester. But people that think they're smarter than other people don't do well in jail situations. To be honest with you, that's a problem. And the reason is this. He may be a fantastic surgeon. He may be really, really well-versed in all kinds of things like that. However, the guy sitting next to him at the table that has an 8th grade education has probably been in that jail 25 times, and he understands the in and outs of how that place works in a way that would take the good doctor, 2 or 3 years to figure out. One of them is, you know how hard it is to not talk about what you're in there for? Think about this for a second, right? You're sitting in the car going like this. Since he got arrested, he's been humming like a vibrator, running through the head all of the things that have happened to him. At some point in the very near future, they're going to dump his discovery on him. All of the evidence they have against him, right? Everything. The people they've interviewed all this, and he's going to sit in his cell and he's going to read it, and he can't talk to anybody about it. Because if he does, the person he talks to is going to try to cut a deal. I've heard a lot of people on this subject, and some of them are ex-cons, and some of them I know. I've been on panels with them before. I don't dislike them, but they said very often they put police officers in there, right, just to try to get you to talk. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. It may have been something they did years ago. They got no reason to do that. All they got to do is give you a cellmate. And if they give you a cellmate that is looking at 5 or 6 years, he will turn someone in for a life sentence to cut down on the 5 years he has to do. If they put him in with somebody that's got looking at a year and a half, that person will cut a deal to get out of trouble. If you're in a cell and the guy says to you, yeah, you know what, I did it. I killed her. And they go, oh, okay. Listen, hit the buzzer. I got to go to medical. There's something going on with my teeth. It's just been driving me crazy. They're going to turn on you so fast. I was in a county jail and a guy came in that, oddly enough, I didn't know from the streets because he was a heroin addict, but I had never met the cat. But he came in and said, you guys know Skinny? And everybody did. And he goes, he's dead. And everyone, really, what happened? He goes, I stabbed him. And I went up and said, dude, everybody at this table is going to turn you in. Everybody. They're all going to be fighting to see who can get a deal on that. And they did. He said, no, man, these guys are. I said, no, you're done. I promise. It's so difficult to navigate those waters, to know how to not say the wrong thing, to know how to not get with the wrong crowd. You know, if you go in there and you just start hanging out with people and the person you're hanging out with has got bad paperwork, it's somebody that's a child molester, it's somebody that's a rapist or whatever, that kind of stuff can get you in real trouble. And if you're thinking those people wouldn't be in general population, I can't answer to Ohio. But I can tell you that county jails don't always run the same politics as prison. In prison, there's no chance in hell that there's going to be a child molester sitting at your table. Because when they get there, people are going to go, hand me your paperwork. Let's see what you're in prison for. That doesn't always happen in county jails. They usually try to keep that stuff from happening. How do you not change your mind in the 7-hour drive to do something horrible? Well, here's the thing.
He's in his right mind. It's crazy.
Yeah, once you're all in, right? This was a question that I get asked this a lot. Not usually on YouTube, but if I'm meeting someone in person, they'll say to me, the first time you walk up to a bank door and yank it open to go in and rob it, like, how do you not stop on the way and go, this is a terrible idea? When you've made your mind up to that degree, like for me, I had a very expensive drug habit, right? It was at that time about $700 a day. So what's that, $5,000 a week, just to not be sick. And you just get to a point where you're like, you know what? If I pull this off, I'm not going to have to worry about dope for X period of time. If I don't pull it off, then I'm going to end up in jail, and this is going to be the end of my run. And as crazy as it sounds, like that's the mindset. And I think that in a lot of people's cases, they will not entertain the what happens if I get caught, right? For real. Now, it's a little different for a murderer than it was somebody that was robbing a bank. I knew how much time I was looking at. I knew that if I didn't use a weapon, it was going to be this much time versus using a weapon. I knew that if I didn't threaten the people, like all of these things were taken into account. If you're going to kill someone, that's an all-in moment. Susan, thank you so much. You look great in green. This is an all-in moment. You're shoving every chip you got in the middle of the table. This is the I don't give a shit anymore, right? I'm killing this woman. He went out and got guns. He went out and got a silencer. He was doing dry runs. He was driving back and forth. This is a person that was all in. And very often, people that start circling the drain, when life is going bad, you got these lawsuits that are pending, you know, this isn't what you signed up for. This is not the life you wanted. And it's all her fault. If it wasn't for this rotten woman, right, my life would be perfect. Very often, these kind of demented individuals will hang every single problem in their life, not just on Monique Tepe, right, but on Spencer, who he's never met. It's his fault too. In fact, she wouldn't walk out on me. I'll guarantee you she was banging this guy while we were together, right? This kind of, once you start circling that drain, the lack of logical thought, the lack of linear thought is incredible. And if you follow true crime for any length of time, you watch people's interrogations, you start going, what the hell? How will he find or select a defense attorney? That's a great question, and he already has. So here's how you do that. He's probably got at least somebody on the outside, right? Somebody out there that he can reach out to. Old friends, old family members, whatever. The lawyer that he has been hired in the past to represent a surgeon who had been accused of murder. And I can't think that's a coincidence, right? That just can't be. The other thing that's a possibility is that when you're in a jail, like when I was my last time that I went to the feds, I was in there for selling guns, right, illegally. And as I was sitting at the table, and I'd been to jail plenty of times. I was not this guy. I was very comfortable. And I was sitting at the table. People were like, "What are you in here for?" And I said, "I'm accused of selling a bunch of guns." And I mean, within 10 seconds, everyone's like, "You know who you got to hire, right? This is the dude you got to hire because he does gun cases. Federal gun cases are like his stock and trade. That's his bread and butter." And then you're looking at inmates who go, "Is that a 912 or a 928? Which one did they charge you with?" I'm like, "US 928. They're like, "Yeah, this is the guy you want." And they were right. Jailhouse lawyers don't always mean the guy's a lawyer. It just means they've been in this system a long time. Do you think him being adopted had little to do with his poor decisions, like felt unwanted his whole life? That's not the vibe I got. You know, maybe I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but this is one of those situations where it looks to me like they took pretty decent care of this cat, right? If I have a difficult time believing that this guy was able to go to school, get straight A's, right? Be a real success on the football team, then go to The Ohio State University and have the same kind of experience and do that with abusive parents or parents that didn't show him love and affection. That's a struggle for me, but it's not my wheelhouse either. I just happen to know a lot of guys that have been to prison. Toronto, Canada. Hey, I'm glad that you are here, Toronto. Absolutely love Toronto. Spent a lot of time there. Definitely a cool place. Lisa Trimble says, if you lose a malpractice suit, the insurance goes through the roof afterwards. They might even drop it. That's a fact, right? You don't want to lose a lot of those cases, and he had 2 pending. One, however, by way of full disclosure, was an inmate who got brought in there having something to do with his family jewels, apparently, Johnny Scoville. Oh. It was testicularly related. But inmates sue every single time they go to the doctor, for real. And this was a civil rights violation. I don't know that it was his fault. The other one, though, sounded bad. And in both of these cases, it wasn't necessarily him doing the procedure, but he was there, so he was listed in it. It'll be a while before I can fully understand that. Thank you again, Susan. It'll be a while before I completely understand that, and they're not covering it in a beautiful way, as far as I'm concerned. But the pressure of where this guy is right now is going to be overwhelming. And if you walk into that place thinking you're smarter than everybody else in there, they will lull you in a way you will not possibly imagine. There'll be a dude in there, Forrest Gumping the hell out of this guy and writing down everything he says after he falls asleep. No way. Really? You did what? And just baiting it out. And the guys that are good at it, they'll go in there and start lying about things they did. Like they will put their whole career out. Really? You're accused of killing someone? I killed a girlfriend 4 years ago, man. She got pregnant. I couldn't have her being pregnant, so I killed her. I buried her in the backyard. Like this kind of crap. These people have watched this happen. You'll run into guys in county jail, and then you'll be like, hey, is this your first time in here? Yeah, it is. How about you? Oh, hell no, dude. Hell no. In the last 25 years, I spent 17 of my Christmases in this county jail. Like there are people that are just in there all of the time, right? This is just part of their life. That isn't going to be our good Dr. McKee. He is out of his element. Now, there will be other people in there like him. And by that, I mean, anytime you go to jail, there's somebody in there who's got a PhD that's screwed up. There's somebody in there that's a doctor or a lawyer. The other thing that he does have going for him is the medical care in most jails in the United States suck. And I mean suck in a way you can't imagine. So very often you'll have, thank you, Susan. Very often you'll have guys go up and say to the guy, hey, can I just ask you a couple of questions, like one doctor to another? I told Johnny the story. I was playing poker in Arizona, and they were bringing mail around, and they threw a piece of mail on the guy's desk, and he goes, here you go, doctor. The guy's sitting at the table with us. Is that a lifeboat shirt? It kind of is. It says the Doc Father. Yes, it is. So I'm dealing the cards with the guy, and one of the dudes sitting to the right of him said, you're a doctor? He said, I am. He said, no kidding. What kind of doctor? He's like, surgeon? Or he goes, no, not that kind of doctor. I have a PhD. I'm that kind of doctor. He said, in fact, my doctorate is in theology. So the guy goes, okay, because I got this thing on my back. He's like, and I don't know what it is. And he goes, yeah, I'm a PhD. He goes, okay. And like 4 minutes later, he's like, well, when we're done playing, can you get me to look at it? And he goes, man, that's not my kind of medicine. He's like, well, I don't care what kind of medicine you do. He's like, you should still be able to take a look at it. The guy looked at everyone on the table like one at a time and went, sure. When we're done here, I'll go take a look at it. There are some people in there that are dim-witted, right? Really dim-witted. There are people in there I've told this story before too. The first time I ever went to an actual prison, not a jail. Somebody had written on the wall, because you have to do what's called the fish tank, which is like 60 days of being locked down. It's 24 hours on Monday. You get out for 15 minutes on Tuesday, 24 hours on Tuesday. And in that 15 minutes, you get to use a phone, get your mail, take a shower. It's brutal. It's a really, really tough thing, the fish tank. And somebody wrote on the door, right, carved it in. It said, "This is going to be the worst 60 days of your life. Good luck." Not luck, Johnny Scoville. Good luck. And I remember thinking to myself, the way that they determine how many prisons they're going to build in the United States, they check illiteracy rates in the 4th grade. I'm not making this up. And that will tell them, they put that into an equation to figure out how many beds you're going to have to make. It would be a shitload cheaper just to make sure that more kids in the 4th grade could read than it would be to build all those prisons. But what do I know? Bless says, "I was adopted and I haven't killed anyone. When you're young, I think you do wonder what is wrong with you, that you were not wanted. But now, nah." Well, I'll tell you what. I have a sister who was adopted. My baby sister's adopted and just has a fantastic life, right? She's very, very happy, definitely felt loved. My son is adopted. I adopted my son. These have never been issues for a lot of people. Now, for some, it is. And in both cases, my sister and my son know their real parents. And I think that's a blessing for some people. It's not for others. When my baby sister's birth father passed away, I called her on the telephone and I said, "I heard what happened. I'm so sorry." And she said, "About what?" Like, literally had no idea what I was talking about. I said, "I heard your dad passed away." She said, "Our dad is at home. I spoke to him this morning. I don't know who that guy was." And I mean, that has to be hard. But knowing who the guy was and having the ability to look at all of it, she definitely felt loved. I think it's a case-by-case thing, but I don't think we can just sort of blanket say, well, he was adopted. He probably felt abandoned. I would say he felt abandoned by Monique Tepe. And I would say that this is a guy that has had problems with women throughout his life. He seems to be a guy that is somewhat abusive. And his dating profiles are now leaking out on the internet. And you can see pictures of him with big shit-eating grins on his face. And he doesn't look anything like the guy we're seeing in that booking photo, right? This is a guy with a big smile on his face, and he just looks happy and phony. There's almost something Stepford husband about it, if you see it. And, there's a lot of people that are making a big deal about, this guy was wealthy. He was a surgeon. He could have anyone. I don't think, this is one of those things that we got to stop saying stuff like this, right? For real. It's just like someone who sexually assaults a woman or rapes a woman. And we go, oh, he could have had anybody he wanted because it had nothing to do with that. It doesn't have anything to do with wanting somebody, right? It's a completely different thing. And he probably could have dated anybody he wanted. What he wanted to do was kill Monique Tepe, right? And whoever stole her from him. This is a guy that really believes he's some other kind of special. He's a freaking surgeon. Everything he touched in life, he was very, very successful in, right? Played football, was good at that. Everything he did, he was successful at, except that marriage. He wasn't successful in that, and she walked out on him. And that had to be a bummer for this guy. He doesn't take losses well. And now he's in a place where he's really got to be careful. You say the wrong word in a jail, I don't care how big you are, I don't care how tough you are. You say the wrong word, someone's going to punch you in the face.
There's no handbook of rules either.
There is no handbook of rules. If one of your favorite expressions is punk or bitch, you better learn real quick that if you say that to a human being in jail, they're going to punch you in the face. It's not even an option for them. They can't weigh it and go, well, he's bigger than I am. Somebody calls you a punk, you have to hit him. As stupid as that sounds, man, it's dumb. I know it's dumb. But every time someone said it, I hit him. He obviously could not keep the one he wanted. Ego hit. Yeah, Sassy Savage, interesting comment. Not even sure that's the one he wanted, right? It sounds to me, when you start to hear, the details of the marriage coming out, they didn't get along, right? It wasn't a good marriage from Jump Street, but he could have thrown her out and he'd have been fine. But if she wanted him gone, that's the ego hit, right? And I kind of understand what that's like. We've seen it in shows where it's almost a joke, but Seinfeld did it, right? George goes up to break up with this girl and she's already trying to break up with him. Now he wants her back, like instantly. I'm going to break up with her. She wants to break up with me. We're a strange group of people, right? The human condition is really odd. But for somebody that has been that driven, this isn't just being a doctor, by the way. vascular surgeons spend so much mother-loving time becoming that type of surgeon. We're talking about really, really long time put in there. And when they were together, even with all that education, he wasn't making money yet. I think that's probably plays a part too. Like maybe in his head, he's thinking to himself, you know what? If she had stuck around 2 more years, I would have had money. She would have never left. Now she goes off and gets with a dentist. A dentist? Gaylord Falker? Right? She's definitely not happy about any of it. I think his parents were older, but they must have helped pay for his medical school bills. And he told an ex-girlfriend he didn't want to talk about him. That's just awful. That is awful. That is awful. But this particular kind of weirdo, right? This particular kind of weirdo probably doesn't like talking about anything but himself. And I know that this is a stretch. I don't know the guy, but I've known a bunch of guys like him. Those people that are just sort of so driven and so, I don't know, the nothing but success, right? You don't want to talk about anybody but you. And I have a feeling that's who we're looking at. Pride and ego are ugly. Grandma says, my former vascular surgeon was wonderful. They're out there. I've seen men who women that broke up with them so that they could hurt the woman in return. Pride and ego are real feelings. They are. And it's a sickness, man. It really is. It's a sickness. I worked in the UK prison service. It's not so easy to get guns here. We had a prisoner who tried to rob a bank with a cucumber. Never used a gun to rob a bank. I was not I didn't want to shoot anybody. I figured if I was carrying one of those, something might happen and I would have had to use it. And I was just in there to get money. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I was pretty serious about that. I was more of a gentleman than a mean guy, you know. But this guy now, so what's his reality like? His reality is like this. He no longer has the ability to control anything in his life. And these kind of people are control freaks, right? There's so little that you can control in jail. You can control when you, especially jail. Prison's a little different. But in jail, you can control when you shower within about a 4-hour window where they let you out for what they call tier time. In most jails, you're not out all day long. You will get out for 4 hours at a whack or 3 hours at a whack. In some places, you might get 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night, and they split it. So the top tier, right, the people on the second story, they'll get out at the off times. So what it basically translates to is for 8 hours a day, the inmates are out, but they're out in 2-hour shifts because you can't put all of them out at once. It's too many guys to be watched by only 1 or 2 people. Taylor says, what? How do you rob a bank without a weapon? You just go in and tell them that you want all the money. And I won't break it down too much more than that because YouTube gets dicey if I tell people how to rob a bank. But you just go in and tell them that you want the cash. If you do it wrong, you're going to get a very small amount of cash. If you do it right, you're not going to get what you see in the movies, but 18 grand, 20 grand, somewhere in there. So it's not a bunch of money. It's a blue collar kind of bank robbery. You gotta keep doing it pretty regularly. But yeah, you just tell them you want it. No, anything, just a conversation. If you like the content and the honest interaction, please hit the like button and subscribe to show your support. Thank you, Brock Bandy. That's a great idea. If you've not hit subscribe, do it. I'm going to be talking about a lot of true crime. There's a lot coming up in true crime, but definitely sign up for it. We're a little different. If you're going, holy crap, he's a bank robber. My early stuff, I explained my whole past and the stuff that I've been convicted of. But I spent 3 different sentences in prison, 1 in the state and 2 in the feds. The last time around, I stopped doing stupid things. I stopped trying to get high. I started reading nonfiction books. I met a guy that said, I can help you get sober. And he was right. And since then, I've not looked back. Even though guns were around in the late 80s in the streets, we didn't carry guns. We carried brass knuckles, switchblades, and butterfly knives. Good Lord. Do you remember the butterfly knife?
I do.
They were cool as hell to look at. Boy, you get caught with brass knuckles these days. That is considered a really serious weapon. They will give you a lot of time for those. Believe it or not, they take that really seriously. I remember the first time I went to jail, no joke, the cops still carried blackjacks. You remember those? Like a little leather pouch about this big, and it was filled with lead, like not hard lead, but almost like powdered lead. And they would smack you on the top of the head with that thing, and your computer would turn off for about 4 seconds, wake up sitting on the floor going, whatever I did, I'm not going to do it again, boss. That's yeah, all 3 are illegal. Well, I'm not joking you, man. Cops used to carry those. Like you would be in jail, they would have a blackjack. and they'd be ready to smack you in the head with it if you did something wrong. Times have changed. And this is no lie, too. I tell people this and they don't believe it. But I remember a day when you went in to get interrogated by the cops. If you got lippy, they literally would go get a phone book and beat the piss out of you with it because it didn't leave marks on you. They'd have your handcuffs behind your back, and they would just hit you with a phone book. Doesn't leave any mark. But you get smacked in the side of the head with a phone book a couple of times, it will take the starch right out of you. Do cops still carry batons? In some places. But you want to hear something crazy? In Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, the federal system, the only prison in the feds, they carry nightsticks. The prison guards carry nightsticks, and every other one carries a taser. Like, that doesn't happen in any other yard. They don't let them have weapons other than tear gas.
Well, how they outnumber what? 80 to 1?
Yeah, well, when I was there, it was ridiculous. There were 3 for whenever you left the cell.
They're in charge because the inmates allowed them to think that they're in charge.
Yeah, but it's a little different in Lewisburg because when you leave your cell, they had 3 cops. You had to have 2 sets of handcuffs on it, and so you cuff up through the cell door. You're never a threat to them, but they would have 3 guards that have to transport you everywhere you go. So it's like a 3-to-1 ratio, which is insane. Have I ever had a dye pack explode on you? No, I have not. However, I had a friend that I saw his paperwork. He was an old guy. In fact, he's the reason I got stabbed. They had sent somebody out to stab him, and apparently we looked enough alike that. But anyway, I knew a guy that, and I read his paperwork. He robbed a bank and took all of the stuff and shoved it inside his jacket and drove off on a motorcycle, and it exploded inside his little leather jacket that he was wearing. And they come in different varieties, those dye packs, but some of them literally, like, it's a phosphorus and it starts to catch. He burned the crap out of himself, but they
just release a
dye.
A single.
Oh no, yeah, that's called a tracer bill, right. And there are several anti-theft devices. Yeah, several devices to keep you from robbing banks. One of them is what's called a tracer bill, and if you look at it, it's $100 bill. It's just a little bit thicker than the average $100 bill. And inside it, it's got a very small battery, and it has a device that emits a signal. And the cops can it's like a peeps. The cops can throw it on and just start following that directly to the hideout where the loot is. But if you can't get rid of a dye pack or a tracer bill, you should find a different line of work, right? I've never gotten caught with either of those. Here's the deal, man. His face looked really puffy in Rockford. Then a week later, his mugshot looked so different. Some people are saying he was on juice. Well, I think that there's a decent chance that could be the truth. Also, a lot of guys that take steroids also take a lot of creatine. And the combination of creatine and testosterone for some people will make them puff up. Nevertheless, he does have a chin that kind of looks like a lantern. And no matter whether or not he's puffy, whether or not he's small or any of those things.
He looks like a dude from Untouchables.
He does. He looks like, what's his name?
Mr. Lassie or Mr. Wonderful?
Mr. Incredible, something like that. The guy from The Incredibles. He does have that Glenn Quagmire kind of lower jaw there. You know what I mean?
More like Joe Swanson.
Look, I'm not a woman, but I didn't look at the guy and go, wow, he's kind of handsome. I looked at that guy and thought, holy crap, look at the jaw on that dude.
He's got pumpkin heads, bro.
Yeah, he's got a pumpkin. He's not a guy you want to punch in the jaw. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to take a shot at him, maybe aim for the Adam's apple. He's got a hell of a jaw on him, doesn't he? He looks like he could chew through a chain link fence. Oops, sorry. It's low-hanging fruit. Picking on somebody for their appearance is just not, well, I can't lie. It's a lot of fun. It may not be mature or any of that stuff, but he's not a good guy.
He's got it coming.
He does have it coming, man. What he did, Ninja Turtle, what he did is about one of the most reprehensible things in the entire world. For real. Get over it. She left you. She's happy. It's so sad to watch any of the videos because they look so genuinely happy, right? Spencer and Monique, or Mo, apparently they called her. The two of them just looked like it was marital bliss. And after the asshole that this dude was, to find a doctor that loved her and treated her well and wanted to just be, her husband and love her. She must have thought she won the lottery. And that scumbag is just out there, Lego-headed jerk. You know something? It's actually far more creative. I'm going to have to put that one up there. I like the Lego-headed deal. I really do.
His head did look like a Lego piece.
It does, doesn't it? He's got that Lego thing going on. So what's his reality like? His reality is like he's no longer making any decisions. At 9 o'clock at night, they're going to lock his ass down. At that point, they're going to turn off his light, except you have a night light. In most county jails in America, you have this light that's on the ceiling, and it is a fluorescent light, right? That fluorescent light is bright as hell. A when they turn it off, the smaller side of the light lights up. The lights are never off. And if you've not had that happen to you, you're not going to sleep well. It takes a long time to kind of get accustomed to that. Hey, sorry about that. He reminds me of Dudley Do Right. I love Dudley Do
What was the other guy? You had tie people in the railroad tracks?
Yeah.
That was Dudley Do Right. That was
Jones.
Whitley Snidely?
Snidely Whiplash. Snidely Whiplash is the guy that does the tying to the, yeah. Or is that the Dover Boys? I don't know. Great cartoons, though. He does have that Dudley Do Right chin thing going on. This guy now literally has lost his ability to control anything, and he seems like a control freak to me. And I'm not a psychiatrist, right? I just did time and did a lot of dope. But to me, this is a control freak. This is a guy that couldn't take the loss. He couldn't stand the fact that she walked out on him on her terms, right? Her family came and snuck her out, and she left on her own terms, and that drove him nuts. Now everything is being done on someone else's terms. Even if, like, when you decide, I'm going to get this attorney, I'm going to fight this thing, the attorney's going to show up when they damn well, please. They're not going to show up when they say they're going to. It's very difficult to schedule that kind of stuff while you're in there. And you don't get to leave to go have a conversation with them. Most of the places have what's called an MP room. That would be a multi-purpose room. That's where they will do interrogations. That's where you will sit down on a computer screen if you're doing a deposition without leaving the jail. All of that is handled in the MP room. And I spent a lot of time in multi-purpose rooms with attorneys. This is going to be hell on him, especially if my armchair diagnosis is right. If this is just a control freak, and he seems that tight, right? Everything he could control in life, he was very good at, except killing people. And I'm telling you, folks, that silencer is going to come back to haunt him. You will hear lawyers. My ex used to talk about silencers. She was a defense attorney, and she would say it's the worst thing in the entire world as a defense attorney because a gun doesn't testify, right? A silencer does. Right? That was literally the expression that she used to use. And what they mean by that is you can have a gun for a lot of reasons. I like to go out and shoot cans, right? I do target stuff. I go to the range. You can have a gun because you want to defend yourself, right? All of these are legitimate. There is one reason and one reason only to have a silencer. You want to be able to fire a gun and not have people hear it. And if that is what you're doing, you're not doing it for legitimate reasons. You're doing it for illegitimate reasons, right? You're doing this as a way to commit crime. And that's the way it's looked at in the eyes of the court. That's the way a jury is going to look at it. By the way, they're going to make a lot about how you get one of these. You can build a silencer. In fact, the 150 people that are here right now could figure out how to do it in about 3 days. There are tons of different places out there that teach you how to do this. A popular one back in the day when I was not a good person, they would use an oil filter off a car, right? The can would literally screw onto the end of the barrel. And, I'm hearing other people say, well, you had to get the barrel replaced. That's not the truth. Barrels on autos are really thick. You just have to bring it to somebody like at a CNC, that do computer type work. And they'll put the threading on the outside of that. The inside of a silencer just has what they call bafflers. And in some of them, they're filled with stuff that looks like steel wool. Some of them are filled with stuff that looks like steel wool and cotton. But whatever the case is, it just cuts down on that, on the amount of noise that they make. She was a possession, and how dare she? That's a decent way to put it, Joanne, for real. He was a major control freak. Now he's happy because they are dead. Poor kids. They have no... You know what? I doubt he's happy. Yeah, you're right. He looks like Quagmire, no question. This is my thing on this. He may have been happy as he was going through this in his head. Right? If I could just get this bitch out of my life, sorry, but this is exactly the thought, I promise you. If I could just get her out of my life, if I could make her pay for this, I would feel right. You never get that, right? No one ever gets that. We always build this up in our head. It's like the drug addict. If I could just stop smoking crack, everything in my life would be perfect. And then you stop smoking crack and nothing in your life is perfect. You're just not a crackhead, right? You still have all the same problems, all these things, but we build these things up in our head like, oh, this is going to be the end all and the be all. And now everything is gone. I mean, this is something that I've actually had conversations with plenty of people about over the course of my life. Was it worth it? Killing these people, right? Is it worth what you traded for it? He had a beautiful apartment, right? Allegedly $500,000, and that's before he decorated it or put in new features or whatever. Let's just say for yits and giggles, he had a $750,000 place looking over the water. He had a great job. He had the respect of the community because of his job. Now you're just an inmate. Now you're just going to have a registered number. And you know what? You're not going to be any more important than any other inmate in there. And I think that's going to be a difficult thing for him. I think Luigi made a suppressor, the guy who killed the United Healthcare CEO. I do believe he did make his. We have the Michael Colucci case here in South Carolina of a family jewelers with 2 murders in a family at different times. Father killed wife. Son then did the same. Pride, ego, money, power. I don't know that case. I'm going to have to look into that. Thank you. Hey, Louisa, good to see you, my South American friend. How are you? Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that. But this, I've said to people, was it worth it? And I only heard one person the entire time say to me, absolutely. And it was a very strange case where there was a guy sitting in the room reading a newspaper. I said, every morning that fool's down there with a smile on his face. I've never seen an inmate like him. I said, he just seems happy. And the guy said to me, he drove across state lines to kill a rapist that had raped his niece. He didn't have a wife. He didn't have anything tying it to him, and his brother was going to end up doing it. And he just said to his brother, please don't, right? Give me 2 weeks. I'm talking to somebody. And he drove down and killed the guy. Felt absolutely fine about it. He had decided ahead of time. He was ready to trade his life for that man's. He would happily go to prison and do the time. That's not what went on with this doctor, I promise you, right? He thought he was going to get away with this. The hubris in it, he thought he would get away with it. And pay attention, everybody. Listen up. Every car apparently made after 2011. I didn't realize it was that far back, but they have a cell phone in it. So if you have a navigation device or if you're on OnStar or any of those things, they're pinging off of towers as they drive around. So your car is literally telling on you, hey, Ann, anything you do, your car is going to tell on you. On top of that, we have license plate readers, right? We've got Easy Pass readers. I don't know what the hell they call it in Ohio, but you know what I'm talking about. Like in New York, you got Easy Pass. Instead of paying to go through a toll, you got a little thing on your car, and it reads it everywhere you go. You're not getting away with this anywhere in the United States. You're never going to get away with this. And don't take this the wrong way because I'm quoting someone else, but they have said the golden age of serial killers is over, right? And I don't think there's a golden age, but I'm talking about at a time when it was constant. You know, we had Bundy and we had Ramirez. We had all these people that were serial killers. You're just not getting away with this anymore. You're just not going to. You're going to leave a paper trail. You're going to leave a digital footprint. You would have to live somewhere that doesn't have cameras in the streets. And those places don't exist anymore. This thing also tracks you everywhere you go, right? You understand that? Any place you go, this thing is going to triangulate off of towers. Everywhere you go, it's reaching out to get to the next tower. And it's giving a digital roadmap and a digital footprint of everything you've done. The days of getting away with any of this stuff just simply is over. I survived a suicide attempt, rude awakening. Life was still going on. And yeah, I'm not laughing at you. I did the same thing. I tried to take myself out years ago with heroin. And I knew the amount I was doing. There was no way I could have survived it. Like I knew it was going to be over. And it sure as hell wasn't. And it is a shocker when you wake up and go, oh, you got to be kidding. Luigi felt like he was on a martyr's mission. Doc is ego hit. You're right. Those are two very different things. Now, I consider both of them mental illness. And if you're somebody that thinks Luigi is a hero, you should find another channel. Straight up. Because I have absolutely no ability to justify somebody that shoots someone in the back of the head for any reason, right? Other than, I mean, you shoot someone that rapes a family member in the back of the head, I'll buy you some dinner. But to do it because you think this guy ruined your life because he works for this company or that company, that's a sickness, really a sickness. Nick Rhino also thought he would get away with it, albeit for different reasons. You know, I wonder about that, Lisa Trimble. You think he did? I wonder. Or is he just so entitled, right? Is he just so damn entitled that he thought, I won't be punished for this. I've never been punished for anything. I am a guy that can do anything and not get punished. But I don't know if he thought he was going to escape and get away with it. I don't know. But it's going to be fascinating to find that out, Lisa. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And you know what? For those who are believers, if you look up the original translation of the Ten Commandments, it says "Thou shalt not murder." It doesn't say "Thou shalt not kill." Right? there are times where killing is something that can happen. Murder is taking a life from somebody that didn't do anything to deserve having their life taken, and murder's never okay. People always think they're smarter than anyone else. Just to be clear, they're not. Well, and this one is just pathetic. I mean, the amount of hubris, either that or I don't give a shit and you're just going to come and get me. But to not get rid of the murder weapon, I mean, what you want it for what? A souvenir, right? Honestly, I'm not being a wise ass about this. For him, there are serial killers that keep souvenirs. Maybe he wants to pull that thing out for the rest of his life and go, this is it. This took out Monique and that dentist. Why keep that stuff? Why not dump it on the way back home? You had to drive all of those hours going from the murder scene back to your place, all along the way. Take that silencer, throw it out the window. Take the gun apart, throw the slide over this bridge, throw the barrel over that bridge, throw the clip over this bridge. It would have been so easy to separate yourself from all of that. That's just pathetic. Yeah, Lisa, see, that I kind of agree with. He thought he could get away with it because he just can't get in trouble. And he said that out loud, right? I can do anything I want and not get in trouble. Louisa, it sounds sick, right? But serial killers, murderers do this. Souvenirs are something that very often people keep because it becomes almost a talisman, right? You know what, Joanne? I'm that guy. I believe that wholeheartedly. There's a reason that if you're sitting here today and you're having a really bad day and you think of all of the different times that you should have been gone, there's a reason you're still here. Focus on that. It's a really good idea. They said in New York City, they get rid of the gun immediately. Well, if you don't get rid of the gun immediately, then there's something to tie you to this crime. Now, we don't know what it is, but allegedly there was some stuff in the car that was going to tie him to this as well. But if you're really the deep thinker that this guy thought he was, recovering your brass, right? It's a term that criminals use all the time. The shell casings are made of brass. The gun leaves a print on that, right? Where the firing pin strikes the primer. So if you look at the back of a bullet, it's brass, and then there's like a little silver piece in the middle. That is filled with an explosive. That's what lights the powder. When that thing hits, it sparks, and that's what causes the explosion to happen. But where that hits every time will be unique to that gun. You know, the gangsters, right? Hitmen for the mob, they use revolvers. That way the shell doesn't get ejected from the gun. You don't have to look for it. I mean, you're panicking. You just shot a gun. You just killed someone. Now you got to look to see where the shells went. It's just, this guy wasn't a pro. He just thought he was. And I would be willing to bet that when it's all said and done, we're going to see all kinds of stuff from his metadata. Like, what did he look up on Google? Because this is another thing that blows my mind, right? All of the people that, they plan out the perfect crime. How do they do that? Well, they ask Google, right? That's not the perfect crime. You've just left a digital footprint. And there's been some incredible cases, where the guy that who was stabbed 6 times, and his wife was shot on the beach, and he literally Googled, where could you be stabbed and not killed, right? Where in the body could someone stab you and not hit any organs or any major arteries? You think it was a souvenir? It very well might have been, right? This is a pretty sick individual. In order to go out and do this, and to do it for what reason? Well, she left me. Half of marriages in the United States end in divorce, right? But you don't see people running around whacking people every time it happens. And you would like to believe, and this is not, by the way, this is ignorant, but we would like to believe as human beings that the more educated this cat is, the less likely something like this would happen, right? We want to believe that this is just like stupid individuals that would do something like this. But then you see a vascular surgeon and you start going, hey, let's just research our crimes on Google because that's a good idea, said no one with a functioning brain cell. You're right. But it's amazing how many doctors, lawyers, people that you would think would know better. Can't you leave a fingerprint on bullets and casings? Yes, you absolutely can. Now, he's probably smart enough to put the stuff in there with a rubber glove on, but who knows? My son's in medical school at Columbia. Couldn't believe the number of oddballs in his cohort that we just met at a white coat ceremony. Just because you're a doctor certainly doesn't mean you're sane or normal. I agree with you. What it means is you're really good at showing up on time. You're really good at memorizing things. You can put in long hours and you're dedicated. You don't give up. Doesn't mean anything other than that, right? It really doesn't. Now, obviously, your ability to memorize, that is an IQ thing. That is your intelligence quotient. IQ doesn't make you smart. It means you can memorize a lot of shit. The IQ number says how much can you put into the bathtub that is your memory. But, I mean, we all know people that memorize just really odd stuff. Like if you ask them, a question about football or baseball or whatever, and you say, who pitched in the 1976 World Series Game 3? And they go, boom, and they spit it out. That requires a lot of IQ to memorize all that. Or if you know the date of every single Grateful Dead concert and what the song set was, takes a long time to memorize that. You'd probably be better off if you memorize stuff about the human body or about law and became a doctor or a lawyer. But IQ doesn't make you smart. It just means that you have the ability to memorize a lot of stuff. I use Google to look up recipes and how to fix stuff that hubby used to do for me and how to spell people's names. You know what? I don't use it anymore. I used to use Google a lot. I do not use it anymore. These days I use about 5 or 6 different AI models, and they find me the articles I'm looking for. But I don't Google stuff anymore. I don't trust Google. I posted it up here, right? I showed reasons why I don't trust them. Google will give you bullshit answers. They will tell you stuff that isn't true, and that makes me nervous. You're right. High IQs aren't worth shite without common sense and logic. And here's the thing. I would rather have, if it was my kid, I would rather have a kid with a 90 IQ, right? And a good sense of loving their common man, right? Regardless of their skin color or their job or their economic status. To me, that's your best case scenario. I don't want a kid with 140 IQ that thinks, well, it's okay to kill this person because he's stupid, or it's okay to be cruel to this person because he's brown, right? That's not you're way better off if you go the other way around. My dad is in his 80s and just had thyroid surgery a year ago. Doc is from Ecuador. They think he's great. You know something? We have really great medical down here. That's no joke. The United States is 27th, I think. Ecuador is 20th. My son is no doctor, but he is 261 days sober. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! That works. Congratulations to your son. That is the coolest thing I've heard in a very long time. 261 days. You can tell him that Tommy from the Lifeboat said that's winning. Winning. You get that far into it, and you've already proven that this is something you can do, and you can do the rest of your life, right? Rinse and repeat. You made it 261 days. You already know the answer to this. Now, as you're doing that, tell him to get a journal and start writing in that journal twice a day. Start peeling the onion to find out why they did dope in the first place. And not only will you get the ability to make it happen. Hold on one second. Yes, this is one of those situations where this is the best case scenario, right? He already proved he can get sober. Now he can prove that he can be happy, because there's a difference between sober and recovery, right? But the opposite of addiction is connection. So just keep talking to him and have him connect with other people. It works. My brother's IQ is higher than mine, but he has the common sense of a gnat. Well, so does Dr. McKee. And I don't know, people, Schadenfreude. It's one of the reasons that I cover true crime. I like seeing people get theirs, especially when they got it coming. What this guy did to Monique and Spencer Tepe, he is going to pay for the rest of his life. And he's paying for it right now. Everybody in there is side-eyeing the dog shit out of him. Not because his crimes are effed up, but because he's famous. This is the whole world's talking about this case. And when you're in a jail or you're in a prison and you see something on the news, they watch the news every day. They knew he was either coming to that jail or the other one. And everybody in there is somewhat fascinated by it. And he's just a target. And I don't mean they're going to kill him, but they want to tell on him. Everybody in there would like to hear his story so that they can call their attorney and go, hey, I got a deal for you. I can give you this Dr. McKee guy. And you know what? He's probably dumb enough to have that conversation with somebody. If his common sense got him to where he's at today, I'd say there's a damn good chance that he's dumb enough to talk about his case with people ad nauseum, right? He's going to want to brag, believe it or not. These are the kind of people that are going to want to, especially when you're surrounded by everybody and everybody in there is acting hella hard. He's a killer. Do I think he will get bail? Absolutely no chance on God's green earth. Do I think he will get bail? No chance in hell. And the reason I say that is this is a capital offense. He killed 2 people at once. And the use of a silencer, the premeditation, the post-meditation, this is a dangerous cat. I don't think there's any chance in hell they give him bail. That's my personal opinion. The silencer thing changes so much. I can't begin to tell you what a big deal that is in the eyes of the law and of the courts. Nobody has a silencer for a good reason. It's just, that's it. You know, why do you have a silencer? Well, because I don't want people to hear me when I kill someone, right? People can snap. You can own guns for lots of reasons. You don't own a silencer for any other reason other than not wanting to get caught doing crime. I'm sorry. And there are people who go, well, you know, it's really loud. Some people like them. No, BS. You know, you buy ear protection. You put big earphones on. It's a hell of a lot cheaper and you don't have to hop through hoops. You buy a silencer, it's because you want to kill someone and you don't want anyone to hear it. If we're going to go for any sort of gun control, a silencer purchase might be one. I agree with you. Now, whether or not this is a legit built silencer or whether he built it himself will be really interesting to find out. I don't think that silencers should be legal for any reason. I don't think that they should ever be legal anywhere in the U.S. That's my humble opinion on that. And as I know that this was a comedy routine that somebody did, but you know, make bullets expensive. Make bullets $500 a piece. You're less likely to do a drive-by if you had to pay $500 for every bullet. And you'd be looking at a guy going, you know, $500? Oh man, if these things were $50, I'd shoot you. We have a bullet problem as much as we have a gun problem. There's a lot of bullets floating around, and people don't have any respect anymore for human life, which is sad. But and I'm not going to get into a political discussion because it'll just cost me subscribers. And right now I'm climbing. I don't want to go the other direction. But the Second Amendment was put in there to protect us from tyranny. That's what it says. You can read it. Tyranny doesn't come from your next door neighbor. It doesn't come from somebody trying to break into your house. Tyranny comes from your government. And the reason that we were allowed to possess firearms was so that the government couldn't impose laws to the point where we couldn't say, screw you, we're going to take back the government. And sadly, you kind of have to have that. Fingerprint triggers are needed. I agree with you. And I know that we could do it. I know that we could make it so that the gun would only fire to the person that owned it. I know we have that technology. We could be doing that now. And it would make it a hell of a lot easier. I think also that they could do stuff so that the bullets are far more traceable. They already do a lot of it that we're not privy to. You don't know until you do something wrong with a gun. But the striations that go down the barrel, that's a fingerprint directly to not only the gun, but the manufacturer, all that. They've gotten a lot better at it. I don't understand why he kept the gun if that is true. It is true. They found the gun and the silencer that attaches to that gun. Maybe because he's that arrogant. Maybe because it was a nice gun. Maybe because he wants a souvenir of the gun that took out this woman that was just so awful that she deserved to die. A lot of people keep souvenirs. A lot of people are just really, really sick. And I think that the more we find out about this guy, the more we are going to find out how sick he is. No power all day today in wintertime. Tommy Bird, that sucks. My power's on. We do get occasionally the power will go off here for 20, 30 minutes, whatever. But today we've been good all day long, which is good because I got the AC cranking. In fact, so much so that the cats are sound asleep on the floor. All right, people, I have another show I'm going to be doing tonight at 9 o'clock on the Eastern time zone in the United States of America. In spite of the fact that I'm on the West Coast of South America, I am still on the East Coast time zone. So I will be back at 9 o'clock tonight, maybe 10 after, something like that. So I do hope to see all of you here. It's going to be a very interesting show. It's a wide open kind of a thing. Don't miss it. It's going to be the boat at its best. All right. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to be covering this. There's also a really interesting case coming up right now about another kind of doomsday mom from Utah that disappeared with all of her kids, allegedly went to Croatia. And we're going to be talking about that as well. So I do appreciate all of you. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, do so. And hit the thumbs up. You probably heard today. I said murder. I said gun. I said bullet. I said rape. I don't censor myself. So I need all the help I can get. Do me a favor, hit subscribe and give me the thumbs up, people. It really does help. My name is Tommy. I will see you on the next one. Thank you for spending time with me. I care more about you guys than you would know, honestly. I love doing this, and I love that you guys show up. I will see you on the next one. Between now and then, put a little love in your heart. I'm Tommy. God bless.